Adaobi couldn't stop smiling as she looked at herself in the mirror. At 28, she had finally found the man of her dreams. Tony was everything she had prayed for: tall, handsome, successful, and most importantly, he loved her deeply. They met at her friend's wedding 6 months ago, and from that first dance, Adaobi knew he was special. Tony worked as a successful businessman and always treated her like a queen. He would bring her flowers every week, take her to fancy restaurants, and shower her with gifts that made all her friends jealous. "You're so lucky," her best friend Inkem always said. "Tony is perfect husband material." Adaobi's parents loved him too, especially when he paid her bride price without any complaints. Everyone said they were the perfect couple. As Adaobi put on her wedding dress, she felt like the luckiest woman alive. She had no idea that this beautiful day would be the beginning of her worst nightmare. Sometimes what looks like a blessing can be a curse in disguise. The wedding ceremony was magical. Adaobi looked stunning in her white gown, while Tony stood handsome in his black suit. Family and friends filled the church, everyone celebrating their love. But during the ceremony, Adaobi noticed something strange about Tony's family. They all sat together in the front row, but they barely smiled or clapped like normal wedding guests. His mother, Mama Ijoma, kept staring at Adaobi with cold, calculating eyes that made her feel uncomfortable. His father and two brothers also had this weird intensity in their gaze. "They are just shy," Tony explained when Adaobi mentioned it. "My family doesn't show emotions easily." After the church ceremony, they had a beautiful reception where everyone danced and ate good food. Tony's family became more friendly during the party, but Adaobi still felt like they were watching her every move. She brushed off her concerns, thinking it was normal for in-laws to be protective. As they drove to their honeymoon destination that evening, Adaobi felt happy and excited about her new life as Mrs. Tony Okoro. After their honeymoon, Tony brought Adaobi to their new home, a big, beautiful house in an expensive neighborhood. "Welcome to your palace, my queen," he said as he carried her over the threshold. The house was indeed impressive, with modern furniture, marble floors, and a beautiful garden. But as soon as they entered, Adaobi felt a strange coldness that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. The house felt too quiet, almost like it was holding its breath. "Your family lives nearby?" Adaobi asked as they settled in. "Yes, very close. Actually, my mother wants to meet with you tomorrow. She has some traditions she wants to teach you," Tony replied. That first night in their new home, Adaobi couldn't sleep well. She kept hearing strange sounds like something sliding across the floor above them. When she asked Tony about it, he said it was probably just the house settling or maybe rats in the ceiling. "Old houses make weird noises," he assured her. But deep in her heart, Adaobi knew those sounds were different. They sounded almost like something large was moving around upstairs. The next morning, Mama Ijeoma came to visit. She was a tall, elegant woman in her 50s with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see right through people. "Welcome to our family, my daughter," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "There are some important things you need to learn about being an Okoro wife." Adaobi tried to be respectful and welcoming, but something about her mother-in-law made her skin crawl. During their conversation, Adaobi noticed that Mama Ijeoma's eyes sometimes seemed to reflect light strangely, almost like an animal's eyes do in the dark. "In our family, we have special traditions," Mama Ijeoma explained. "Every new wife must follow certain rules to keep the family blessed and protected." She handed Adaobi a list of strange instructions. Never go outside after 9 p.m. Always keep a bowl of milk by her bed. Never ask questions about family business. And most importantly, never enter the basement of the house. These rules might seem odd, but they are very important for your safety and happiness, Mama Ijeoma said with that cold smile. Adaobi tried to follow her mother-in-law's rules, but they made no sense to her. Why couldn't she go outside after 9 p.m. in her own neighborhood? Why did she need to keep milk by her bed every night? When she asked Tony about these rules, he became defensive. Just do what my mother says. She knows what's best for our family, he insisted. These traditions have kept our family successful for generations. But Adaobi was a modern woman with a university degree. She didn't believe in strange superstitions. One evening, she decided to test the rules. At 10 p.m., she went outside to throw away some trash. As she walked to the dustbin, she heard a loud hissing sound coming from the direction of her in-laws' house next door. Looking up, she saw what appeared to be large shadows moving behind their windows. The shadows looked too big to be human. Her heart started beating fast as she hurried back inside. That night, she had terrible nightmares about being chased by giant snakes. When she woke up, the bowl of milk she had left by her bed was completely empty, even though she hadn't touched it. As days passed, Adaobi began hearing more strange sounds in their house. During the day, everything seemed normal, but at night, the house came alive with weird noises. She heard what sounded like something large sliding through the walls, accompanied by soft hissing sounds that made her blood run cold. "Tony, can you hear that?" she would ask, shaking him awake. But somehow, her husband always slept deeply during these times and claimed he heard nothing. "You're just stressed from the big change in your life," he would say. "Maybe you should see a doctor." But Adaobi knew she wasn't imagining things. The sounds were real, and they were getting louder every night. She started staying awake, listening and trying to figure out where the sounds were coming from. One night, she followed the hissing sound to the basement door. According to her mother-in-law's rules, she was forbidden from going down there. As she pressed her ear to the door, the hissing stopped suddenly, as if whatever was down there knew she was listening. Then she heard a voice whisper her name, "Adaobi." The voice was cold and didn't sound human at all. Desperate for answers, Adaobi decided to talk to their neighbors. Maybe someone could explain what was happening in her new home. She started with Mama Nkechi, an old woman who sold vegetables near their house. At first, Mama Nkechi was friendly and welcoming, but when Adaobi mentioned that she was married to the Okoro family, the old woman's face changed completely. "Ah, my child," Mama Nkechi whispered, looking around nervously. "You married into that family. May God protect you." She pulled Adaobi aside and spoke in low, frightened tones. "People in this village have been talking about the Okoro family for many years. Strange things happen around their house. Animals disappear, people get sick after visiting them, and at night," she paused, shaking her head. "At night, people see things that shouldn't exist." Other villagers told similar stories. Some said they had seen large snakes coming out of the Okoro compound after midnight. Others mentioned family members who had married into the Okoro family and then disappeared mysteriously. "Run away, my daughter," an old man advised. "That family is cursed. They are not normal people." Adaobi couldn't ignore the warnings anymore. She decided to do some research about her husband's family history. She visited the local library and found old newspaper articles about the Okoro family dating back 50 years. What she discovered made her blood freeze. Multiple articles mentioned mysterious disappearances of women who married Okoro men. The articles described strange animal attacks, unexplained deaths, and witnesses who claimed to see impossible things. Local woman claims husband transforms into snake at night. Family denies allegations before woman disappears. The missing woman was Tony's father's first wife. Another article from 2010 mentioned Tony's older brother's wife, who had died in what officials called an animal attack. But witnesses described seeing a giant snake near her body. As Adaobi read these articles, her hands trembled. Every generation, women who married into the Okoro family either disappeared or died under mysterious circumstances. Now she understood why the villagers were afraid. She also understood why Mama Ijoma had been so insistent about those strange rules. They weren't traditions, they were survival instructions. That evening, Adaobi confronted Tony about everything she had learned. I know about your family's history, she said, showing him the newspaper articles. I know about the women who disappear, the strange deaths, and what people are saying in the village. Tony's face went completely pale. Then he became angry. Who have you been talking to? He shouted. I told you not to listen to village gossips and superstitions. But Adaobi was not backing down. These are not just stories, Tony. These are official reports. Women who married your family members have been dying for decades. Tony paced around the room like a caged animal, his eyes flashing with an anger she had never seen before. You don't understand our family, Adaobi. We have complications, but I love you and I would never hurt you. Then explain to me what's really happening, Adaobi demanded. Why do I hear hissing sounds at night? Why do your mother's eyes glow? Why am I forbidden from certain parts of our house? Tony looked at her for a long moment, then sat down heavily. Some truths are too dangerous to know, he whispered. Please, just follow the rules and everything will be fine. That night, Adaobi pretended to sleep, but stayed awake, determined to discover the truth. Around midnight, she heard Tony get up from bed. Through half-closed eyes, she watched him walk to their bedroom window. What happened next would haunt her forever. Under the moonlight streaming through the window, Tony's body began to change. His skin started rippling like water, his limbs became longer and more flexible, and his face was no longer human. Within minutes, where her husband had been standing, there was now a massive python with golden scales and intelligent eyes that she recognized as Tony's. The snake looked at her for a moment, and she was sure it knew she was watching. Then it slithered out through the window with impossible grace. Adaobi lay in bed, paralyzed with terror. Everything the villagers had said was true. Her husband was not human, at least, not entirely. She had married into a family of shapeshifters, people who could transform into snakes at night. Now she understood the hissing sounds, the strange rules, and why so many women had disappeared. As dawn approached, she heard something sliding back through the window. By morning, Tony was human again, sleeping peacefully beside her as if nothing had happened. The next day, Adaobi could barely look at her husband. Every time he touched her, she remembered seeing him transform into that massive snake. She knew she had to be careful. If Tony realized she knew their secrets, her life would be in danger. That afternoon, while Tony was at work, Mama Ijoma came to visit. You look troubled, my daughter, she said with that cold smile. Are you having bad dreams? Something in her mother-in-law's tone told Adaobi that she knew exactly what was happening. Mama, I need to know the truth about this family, Adaobi said carefully. Mama Ijoma's eyes flashed dangerously. Truth? What truth are you talking about? I know what happens at night, Adaobi whispered. I know what you all become. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then, Mama Ijoma laughed a sound that was more hiss than human laughter. So, you finally know. Good. It was getting tiresome pretending. She sat down and looked at Adaobi with those glowing eyes. Yes, we transform. It's a gift passed down through generations. We are blessed with the power of the serpent. Blessed, Adaobi gasped. It's a curse. That's why women keep disappearing. Mama Ijioma's expression turned serious and dark. Let me tell you the real story, my daughter. Many years ago, our ancestors saved a powerful snake spirit from hunters. In gratitude, the spirit blessed our family with its power, the ability to transform and live long lives. But every blessing comes with a price. She stood up and began pacing her movements, unnaturally fluid. The price is that we must feed the spirit. It demands sacrifice to keep our power strong. Usually, we hunt animals, but every few years, she paused, staring directly at Adaobi. Every few years, it requires something more substantial. Adaobi's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. You mean human sacrifice? Not sacrifice, Mama Ijoma corrected with a twisted smile. Partnership. The women who marry into our family become part of the feeding ritual. Some accept it willingly and live long lives with us. Others resist and, well, you've read the newspapers. The old woman leaned closer, her eyes now definitely glowing. The choice is yours, Adaobi. Join us willingly and share in our power, or continue to resist and face the consequences. But know this, you cannot leave. Once you've married into this family, you belong to us forever. Adaobi realized she was trapped. She couldn't run away because they would find her, and she couldn't stay because they wanted her to become part of their evil rituals. That night, she called her best friend Nkem, speaking in code to avoid suspicion. I need to visit my sick aunt, she lied, hoping Nkem would understand her distress. But when she tried to leave the house the next morning, Tony stopped her. Where are you going, my wife? He asked, his voice different from before, more controlling and dangerous. I told you to see my aunt, Adaobi replied, trying to sound normal. No, Tony said firmly. You're not going anywhere. My mother told me about your conversation yesterday. We can't risk you talking to the wrong people. For the first time since their marriage, Adaobi saw her husband's true nature. He was no longer the loving man who had courted her. He was her captor. You can't keep me prisoner in my own home, she protested. Tony's eyes flashed with that inhuman light. This is not your home anymore, Adaobi. This is our den, and you are now part of the family, whether you like it or not. He locked all the doors and took her phone, leaving her completely isolated and helpless. That night, Adaobi was forced to witness something that nearly drove her insane with terror. The entire Okoro family gathered in their backyard, Tony, his parents, and his two brothers with their wives. Under the full moon, they all transformed into massive snakes of different colors and patterns. Tony became a golden python, his father a black mamba, his mother a cobra with a hood that spread wide, and his brothers became smaller but equally dangerous vipers. The wives who had accepted the family tradition remained human, but participated in the ritual by chanting in a language Adaobi didn't recognize. They brought out a live goat, and what followed was too horrible for Adaobi to describe. The snake family fed together in a way that was both primitive and ritualistic. After they finished feeding, they slithered around in circles, their scales glinting in the moonlight, before transforming back into human form. Soon, you will join us, Mama Ijoma told Adaobi, who was watching from an upstairs window. The spirit has already tasted your presence in this house. It's growing hungry for you. Adaobi realized she had very little time before they would force her to participate in their evil rituals. Desperate and terrified, Adaobi remembered something her grandmother used to tell her about spiritual protection. Her grandmother was known in their village for her knowledge of traditional medicine and spiritual warfare. Salt and iron can protect you from evil spirits, she had always said. And prayer is the most powerful weapon against darkness. While the family was busy during the day, Adaobi secretly gathered salt from the kitchen and found some iron nails in the garage. She created a protective circle around her bed using salt and placed the iron nails under her mattress. That night, for the first time in weeks, the hissing sounds didn't come close to her room. She also remembered that her grandmother had given her a special necklace blessed by their village pastor. She had hidden it away after marriage because Mama Ijoma said it conflicted with their family traditions. Now she retrieved it and wore it under her clothes. The next morning, she noticed that Tony seemed uncomfortable around her, like something was bothering him. Are you feeling all right? He asked, staying unusually far from her. Adaobi realized that her spiritual protection was working. Maybe there was hope for escape after all. Adaobi knew she had to escape, but it wouldn't be easy. The family watched her constantly, and she was sure they could track her scent, even in human form. She needed a plan that would give her enough time to get far away and find help. She remembered that her cousin Emeka lived in the next state and worked with the police. If she could reach him, he might be able to protect her. Using the small window in the back door, She started dropping notes to the garbage collector, begging him to contact her family. She promised him money if he would deliver a message to her parents. Meanwhile, she continued her spiritual protection rituals, keeping salt around her bed and wearing her grandmother's blessed necklace. The family was getting more aggressive about wanting her to join them. The spirit is becoming impatient, Mama Ijoma warned. If you don't participate in the next feeding ritual willingly, we will have to force you. Adaobi knew that forcing her meant either killing her or somehow transforming her into one of them. She had seen enough horror movies to know that neither option was acceptable. Time was running out, and she had to act soon before they made their final move. On a rainy Thursday night, Adaobi put her escape plan into action. She had managed to get a message to her cousin through the garbage collector, and Emeka was supposed to be waiting for her at the main road with police backup. Using her knowledge of the family's transformation schedule, she knew they would all be in snake form between midnight and dawn. At 1 a.m., she quietly broke the bedroom window using tools she had hidden. The rain would mask her scent and the sound of her escape. As she climbed out, she could hear the hissing sounds coming from different parts of the house. They were already transformed and haunting. Her heart pounded as she ran through their compound, clutching her grandmother's necklace and whispering prayers. She had almost reached the main road when she heard the terrifying sound of something large slithering rapidly behind her. Looking back, she saw the golden python that was Tony gaining on her with impossible speed. Emeka! She screamed as she reached the road, hoping her cousin was there. Suddenly, bright headlights flooded the area, and she heard car doors slamming. Adaobi, over here. It was Emeka's voice, along with what sounded like several other men. Emeka and 3 policemen ran toward Adaobi just as the golden python reached her. But something miraculous happened. As soon as the snake came into the light from the police cars, it recoiled as if burned and quickly slithered back into the darkness. "Thank God you're safe," Emeka said, wrapping a blanket around his trembling cousin. "Your message was so strange, but I could tell you were in real danger." The police officers were looking around, confused. "Ma'am, you said your husband's family were trying to hurt you, but we don't see anyone here," one officer said. Adaobi realized how crazy her story would sound. They don't come out when there are too many people around," she said carefully. "Please, just take me somewhere safe. I have evidence at home of what they've been doing." As they drove away, Adaobi saw multiple pairs of glowing eyes watching from the Okoro compound. She knew this wasn't over. The family would never let her go, but for now, she was alive and free. Adaobi was finally beginning to heal from her traumatic experience. She had moved back to her parents' house and was receiving counseling to help her recover from the psychological trauma. Years later, Adaobi married a wonderful man who treated her with genuine love and respect. She had learned to recognize the difference between true love and manipulation. Though she never forgot her terrifying experience with the Okoro family, she refused to let it destroy her faith in love and marriage. Not all families are what they seem. Sometimes the people who welcome you with smiles are the ones planning your destruction. Trust your instincts, ask questions, and never ignore warning signs. No matter how much you love someone, your life could depend on it. How well do you really know the family you're marrying into? Sometimes the truth is more terrifying than any nightmare you could imagine. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories about love, family, and life lessons. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.